In August 2025, a former Prime Minister of Mali, Moussa Mara, was thrown in jail. His crime, a single social media post. To outside observers, it looked like heavy-handed censorship, but to millions of Africans, it felt like long overdue justice. The irony is staggering. The very man who once served as a bridge for France, Mali's former colonial ruler, was now being held accountable by a government fighting to break those exact colonial chains. The official charges against Mara are undermining the credibility of the state and spreading false information, stemming from a post on X where he declared unwavering solidarity with prisoners of conscience. But this isn't just about a tweet. This is about a reckoning decade in the making. It's about Africa's new revolutionary leaders like Colonel Assimi Goïta drawing a firm line in the sand between those who serve the people and those who serve the colonizers. In this episode, we are diving deep into how Moussa Mara's colonial connections came back to haunt him, how Mali's revolutionary government is dismantling the old order, and why this trial represents a broader African awakening against foreign puppets. Moussa Mara's career path was perfectly designed to serve the old system. Born in 1975, he wasn't just an accountant, he was a chartered accountant trained through the French system. He was part of a generation of African technocrats groomed by Paris to manage French interests under the guise of local governance. By his early 30s, his audit firm had placed him at the very crossroads of power, where Mali's money met the demands of international donors and French corporations. His climb through politics was just as calculated and swift, from mayor to minister to the top job of prime minister in 2014. His time in office was short, but it was under a government that rolled out the red carpet for French troops and kept Mali locked in the CFA franc, a financial system designed to benefit France. Mara was clever. He rarely praised French out loud, but to the revolutionaries of today, he was a classic enabler, a man who cloaked foreign control in the language of technocratic reform, becoming a pillar of the very establishment they are now determined to tear down. May 2014, this is the moment that exposed the entire rotten system. Prime Minister Moussa Mara travels to the northern city of Kidal to do his job, assert his country's authority. But what should have been a routine visit exploded into a national humiliation. Separatist militias unleashed hell, killing Malian soldiers, capturing officials and sending the Prime Minister's delegation running for their lives. And just down the road, who was watching it all unfold? French soldiers, heavily armed with a front row seat to the chaos. And what did they do? Absolutely nothing. This was the same French army that claimed to be Mali's saviors. But when the moment of truth came, they suddenly declared themselves neutral. Neutral, while their supposed ally was being torn apart. The message to every Malian was a slap in the face. Your sovereignty ends where our interests begin. But the most damning part of the story wasn't the French betrayal. It was Moussa Mara's silence. His soldiers were dead. His government was humiliated. And he said nothing about France's role. No outrage, no demand for justice, just silence. Months later, he didn't resign in protest. He just faded away. And in that moment, he confirmed everything his critics believe. He proved that he would rather swallow a national humiliation than dare to criticize the colonial power he was groomed to serve. Then, in August 2020, the old system shattered. A new leader emerged, and he was nothing like the ones who came before. Colonel Assimi Goïta didn't come from the polished halls of Paris. He came from the dust and blood of the front lines. He was a career soldier who had watched his brothers in arms die while so-called allies played political games and protected their favorite rebel groups. He saw the truth with his own eyes. The problem wasn't just a few bad policies. The entire system was rigged in favor of foreign powers. It couldn't be reformed. He had to be dismantled. So he didn't ask for permission. He acted. One by one, he cut the colonial strings. The French ambassador out. The one-sided defense deals ripped apart. The French troops on Malian soil, pack your bags, get out. He turned to new partners like Russia, ready to build future on Mali's terms. And as the old masters in Paris fumed, the Malian people roared with support. When France and its regional allies tried to punish them with sanctions, did they break? No. They poured into the street by the thousands, rallying behind their new government. For the first time in a generation, they felt a sense of real dignity. This wasn't about empty speeches anymore. This was about sovereign action. This was about taking their country back. What happens when you push three nations with the same story too far? You get a revolution. That's the story of the alliance of Sahel states. Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger, all three had the same scars. French troops on their soil who brought no peace. And when they finally stood up for themselves, they all got the same slap in the face. Crippling economic sanctions from ECOWAS, a club of so-called allies often doing Paris bidding. Their old masters sent them a clear message: stay in line or we will punish you. So they sent a message back: we quit. They didn't just unite their armies. They walked out of ECOWAS and began drawing a new map of West Africa. A map where trade, travel, and currency are decided in Bamako and Ouagadougou, not Paris or Brussels. They are talking about a shared currency, open borders, a true confederation forged in defiance. And at the heart of this movement is the voice of Captain Ibrahim Traoré of Burkina Faso, who calls it what it is: Africa's second independence. And this is why the old guard is terrified. This alliance isn't just a threat to foreign powers, it's a death sentence for the local servants who enabled them. It's why a man like Moussa Mara isn't just a political opponent anymore. He's a relic of an era they are burning to the ground. So if you kick out the old colonial master, who do you turn to? For Mali, the answer was a game changer. They turned to a new partner who offered a fundamentally different deal. Let's start with Russia. For decades, France's deal was: we offer you protection, but the price is your sovereignty. You do what Paris says. Russia was offering something simple: we provide you with weapons and training to fight terrorists. You run your own country anyhow you deem fit. And the result? Remember Kidal, the city that France let separatists take to humiliate Mali's government. With Russian support, the Malian army took it back. They did the one thing France never wanted them to do. They reclaimed their own territory. When Russian soldiers fight and die alongside Malian soldiers, it's not colonial oversight, it's a partnership. It's the same story with China on the economic front. Instead of just extracting resources, Chinese companies are building roads, bridges, and power plants. They are building local capacity, not long-term dependency. And here is the part that drives the West crazy. Neither Russia nor China is lecturing Mali on how to govern. No sermons about democracy from powers who propped up dictators for decades. Just business and security. This is the West's ultimate nightmare, because once a nation gets a taste of real partnership, one based on respect, not domination, they will never go back to begging the master for scraps again. Which brings us back to that single social media post. Why would a government arrest a former prime minister for a tweet? Because they knew it wasn't just a tweet, it was a declaration of war. Welcome to the new frontline of Africa's fight for independence, the information war. For decades, the story of Africa was written in Paris, London, and Washington. But now, the battlefield has moved online, and Africans are picking up their keyboards. Moussa Mara fired his shot using the classic weaponized language of Western NGOs. He talked about prisoners of conscience and democracy. It was a carefully coded message designed to paint Mali's new leaders as brutal dictators for an international audience. But the people of Mali and their allies across Africa saw right through it. They didn't see a freedom fighter. They saw a colonial servant using his master's vocabulary. And instantly, the digital world split in two. On one side, you had Western media and their local partners, all screaming censorship. On the other side, a tidal wave of African social media users armed with a different story and a powerful hashtag, ColonialServant. That hashtag went viral. People weren't just tweeting, they were pulling up receipts. They posted pictures of the Kidal betrayal, reminding everyone of Mara's weakness. They put his silence then against Goïta's strength now. It was a masterclass in digital accountability. This isn't just happening in Mali. All across the continent, a digital army of young Africans is rising up. They are fact-checking Western narratives, celebrating their own heroes, and taking back control of their own story, one post at a time. So it all comes down to this. Next month, on September 29th, Moussa Mara will stand trial. But don't be mistaken, he's not the only one in the dock. What's really on trial is an entire era. The verdict will send a shockwave across the continent, a clear warning to every politician who still thinks they can serve two masters. The message is simple. The age of colonial servants is over. And while the old powers in the West watch their influence burn away, crying about authoritarianism, the leaders in the Sahel are too busy building to listen. They are choosing sovereignty over applause and African unity over colonial divisions. A Malian court will decide Moussa Mara's legal fate, but history has always delivered its verdict. He's a ghost of a dependent past, a past that this new Africa is fighting to bury for good. The future belongs to the generation of Goïta and Traoré. They understand a simple, powerful truth. Real freedom doesn't come from begging for a better seat at the master's table. It comes from building your own house. It comes from breaking the chains, not just polishing them. This is Frontline Africa. If you value truth unfiltered and power reframed from an African perspective, subscribe, like and drop your thoughts in the comments. I am Ezekiel Enegeta. See you in the next one.